Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation, right here on Verde Valley TV and KVNA 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Mingus Union High School Athletic Director Yancey Devore, who will break down all the upcoming upgrades to facilities on campus. We'll then be joined by Prescott track and field coach Steve Reynolds, who will discuss his time interning with the U.S. track and field team in Oregon. But on the other side of this break, we'll be joined by Prescott baseball coach Kent Winslow to discuss his career and upcoming retirement plans. All of that and a whole lot more coming up on the other side of this break. Stay with us. Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports. I am joined now by a familiar face of the program, Prescott baseball coach Kent Winslow. Coach Winslow, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil.
We had you in a couple weeks ago to talk about the season so far, and since then the season has wrapped up for the Prescott Badgers. But we found out mid-season that you were going to be retiring at the end of this year, so we thought we'd bring you on and talk a little bit about your career and send you off with some well wishes. And I want to thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. For those of you who do not know, Coach Winslow played high school baseball at Buena High School in Sierra Vista, Arizona. He played multiple sports, including baseball, obviously. He graduated and attended Central Arizona, won a state title there, also played at Gonzaga and Grand Canyon University, earning his bachelor's degree at NAU, and then finishing his master's at Texas A&M. You've been all over the board, Coach, with your education and with your career. But I just want to ask from the beginning, what sparked your interest in coaching?
Well, I grew up in a athletic family. My dad was he coached everything. He was actually the last coach at Jerome High School and the first coach at Mingus High School when they switched names, basically. So he was a basketball, football guy. That's kind of one of his deals. So we grew up in a coaching home, and from a very early age, I knew that that's something that as soon as I got done playing, I would like to pursue. And the Lord blessed me that way and gave me opportunities to get into coaching and have some success while I was there. So it was a fun thing.
Starting out in terms of coaching, at least for the past 20 years, a little bit on and off, you spent time coaching this Prescott baseball program. What brought you to Prescott High School?
Well, we were kind of in a spot in our family and careers where we were ready to do something different and quite honestly, my wife had gotten a job at a university in Central California. And unfortunately, I was unable to find employment. And we had two jobs here at Prescott. And so we decided to move here. It was a tough job, a tough decision to make. And it was very difficult on my wife because she had been at the university level for a long time, had a PhD. And yeah, it was kind of a tough deal, but again, things worked out for us. We basically, my last three boys graduated from Prescott High School, and it was a good experience for them. And we pretty much fell in love with Prescott and moved away once and got lucky and got to move back. And I don't think we're moving again.
You accomplished a huge feat in 2002, leading the Prescott Badgers to their first ever baseball state title. I believe that is their only one currently. At that time, you'd only been a part of a championship as a player, but coach, at that point, you had been coaching for several years. How did it feel to see it on the flip side as a coach to win a state title on a different side of the field?
Well, honestly, I actually was fortunate. My second year of high school coaching at Santa Cruz Valley Union in Eloy, Arizona, we actually won a state championship.
Okay.
That was back in '82. And then right before we moved up here, I was coaching at Canyon de Oro High School in Tucson, and we won a state championship there. And so I took a year off and just taught at Bradshaw High School, and the job opened up here at Prescott. And obviously I inherited a very talented team, and things fell in place again. And, you can't take a whole lot of the credit for it because, as you look back over your career and your past, you can see many times where the Lord has intervened and granted you success in places that, maybe normally might not have happened. So not to say that we didn't have a really good team, but to, win championships like that, you can't take all the credit for sure. I mean, there's great kids involved, Lord's hand involved. I mean, it's kind of a combination of a lot of things.
So let me correct my notes then. Three-time state title winner, Kent Winslow, the Badgers head coach for the baseball team. He's joining us here for those of you who are just joining us. But, Coach, it's funny. You talk about teaching over at Bradshaw Mountain, but you also coached at Mingus Union High School for a short stint, which is funny because you mentioned earlier that your dad was one of the first coaches for that program. So it's kind of funny how you have that sort of parallel there with you taking over that job. But I do want to ask, what made you leave Prescott for that short time to go take the job over at Mingus?
Well, it was, we were moving back up to Prescott. My wife had been offered a position here at Prescott High School to teach science, and there wasn't anything open for me. And I told her that I really felt like the Lord was leading us back up here and that he would provide a job for us, for me. And so about the end of July, I got a call from Johnny Balo and Coach Young. And they said, hey, we had a wrestling coach leave that was a PE teacher. And we, if you want to come over here and take over the head position, we'll be your assistants. And so I jumped on the opportunity. I got an interview and they hired me. And so, I went over there and commuted. We were living in Prescott and I commuted back and forth. And quite honestly, I planned on doing it, for as long as I could do it. And then the position opened up here at Prescott High School to teach PE. And, it was kind of a no-brainer. Didn't have to drive an hour every day. And I was an assistant coach for a couple of years and then was fortunate enough to take the program back over. So again, it was, Lord's timing's perfect. And, he provided for us and things worked out well.
And how cool for you now, coaching over at Prescott, you kind of look across the field and you see Bob Young wearing the Bradshaw Mountain High School shirt. What has your relationship with Coach Young been over the years? And how weird is it to see him not wearing a Marauder shirt?
Well, it is a little different, but, I've been there and done that. So I kind of know, what he's all about. Honestly, I would have to say that Bob probably has the utmost respect of me and his fellow coaches of anybody I know in the profession. There is nobody except for very, very small schools that has done what he's done. He was a state champion coach in both football and baseball, and that is absolutely unheard of. Just to even coach the two sports at the same time is, you got to check his brainwaves to see if he's really, one of us. But it's incredible. He's a stand-up guy. He just always respected coaching against him, competing against him, and then to have me on staff and get to work with him, him and along with his assistants, like I said, Johnny and Steve. It was just a great experience for me. And, we had a pretty good year that year. It was pretty fun and had some great kids. And, Eric was one of our guys, he was, he was my right fielder. And we talk every time before we play each other about some of the crazy things that went on that year. So it was a great experience for me.
Again, we are speaking with Coach Winslow. He is the Prescott baseball coach, Coach Kent Winslow, I should say. He's retiring at the end of this season. A replacement has been named. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But, Coach, you've been all around the 4A Grand Canyon region as a teacher, as a coach. How have you seen this region grow? And, what can you say to the talent that is up here in Northern Arizona? We see Flagstaff, Coconino, Lee Williams are possibly playoff teams this year. Mingus has had some success. Prescott, obviously, is another team. Bradshaw Mountain. It seems like the talent level here in Northern Arizona is always usually pretty good. But what can you say to just sort of the growth that you've seen in this region in your tenure of coaching?
I think it really is based on the guys that are in the programs. Each one of the programs you mentioned, from Bradshaw with Brian there, he's done an outstanding job when he took over from Randy. He just stepped right in and they've been good under him ever since he's been there. Mike at Flagstaff does just a great job with his kids year in and year out. Dan Vandervalk, when he was at Coconino, had really brought that team just a little bit step maybe farther than Ed Vesley had taken them. And so Patrick over at Lee Williams, each one of those guys have just done an outstanding job with their programs year in and year out. And it's kind of neat to see us up here, outside the metro areas that, we've held our own pretty well in state playoffs. Obviously, nobody's won one for a long time, but to get in and to, find some success is pretty amazing. And a good group of teams going in this year. And with a 16-team single elimination, anything can happen. I think it really bodes well for teams that maybe aren't quite as depth oriented as some of the other teams, because all you got to do is knock off a number one team once. You don't have to face them again. So I'm hoping our boys from up here, have a good tournament and, beat on some people in the big cities. It'd be fun.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that. Playoff baseball is right around the corner here in Northern Arizona and throughout the state of Arizona, of course. But Coach, how have you seen the game of baseball evolve in your long-term career of coaching? Any trends that have changed? Any just pace of game? What has really changed that's sort of, maybe if it's just one thing that really kind of jumps at you that's really been different since you started coaching?
I think the biggest thing is the advent of club baseball. I think there's been some really good things about it. I do think there's some negative things about it too. I think the amount of baseball the kids are able to play, I think, helps a bunch. I think one of the problems with it is it becomes more of a all about me type of activity rather than team oriented. And I think sometimes, I'm not, a blanket statement, but I think a lot of clubs don't necessarily teach the game as well as they should. They give kids a great opportunity to play a ton of baseball. But I think kids are more self-focused than they are team-focused in this day and age. And I think that's a challenge that, the guys that are still in it face. And again, I don't know what the answer is. It's going to be there. But I just think that, that's the one change I've seen, good or bad. Can't really make a judgment call on that, but it is different.
Yeah, very much so. Gone are the days where a guy could play at a high school and put up some really big numbers and get a lot of exposure from, MLB scouts or college scouts. But now it seems like the club scene has really taken over the sort of exposure aspect of high school baseball. And yes, I will agree too. There are a lot of positives. There are a lot of negatives. My sister was a highly recruited prospect. When she played softball, she played on club teams that were great, some that were really bad. But yeah, there are definitely some very good things and very bad things. But getting back to you, Coach, you're in your final year at the program here at Prescott High School. I mean, what are you going to do when you're done? You're going to be done at the end of the year. What are your retirement plans?
Well, we've got a few things in mind. We are going to do a little bit of traveling. We're not too crazy as far as leaving the country, but there's a lot of places I'd like to see, just even in Arizona and around the United States. And we were fortunate enough, my siblings and I inherited some land in southern Colorado on the Dolores River from my parents. And so we're going to spend some time there. And like I said, every season of your life, there's different things that take place. And I'm just kind of waiting on the Lord. He's going to open up doors that he wants opened, and, he'll lead us where he wants us to be. And hopefully I can, keep doing things that are enjoyable and, maybe worthwhile. And, I don't really have any set plans, but I do know that I've done this plenty long enough, and it is definitely time, and it's going to be enjoyable, I know.
Yes, very much so, Coach. And we do wish you the best of luck in whatever venture you're going into next. And is there a possibility we may see you back out on the field? Do you have any grandkids who might be playing some baseball soon or some softball soon? Not soon.
I got a 4-month-old, and if I'm coaching when he gets to high school, somebody ought to shoot me. I might throw him some BP with a wiffle ball or something if I could still walk by that time. But no, I don't plan on doing that. In fact, I told my wife, I said, if I ever get a wild hair to do this again, you just remind me of some of the things that we've gone through and get me back to reality. I think we've done enough, and it's time to turn the page and do some things together, and just kind of enjoy. Do a little hunting and fishing, and like I said, a little traveling, and I think I'll be pretty satisfied.
Coach, I've got one more question before we let you go. Barry Tolley was named as the replacement for you to take over next season, or at least right after this season is done. What are your thoughts on the replacement? How are you feeling about the program going forward in the hands of Barry Tolley? And that's basically it.
Yeah, I've got to speak with Barry on the phone a number of times, and I actually got to meet him last week as I was heading down to the bus to go to Estrella Foothills. He was walking up, and we chatted just real briefly. And he's a quality guy. He's got a great background, and I just think it's going to be a really good fit. Like anything, when you take over a program, there's some things that you want to do your way and some challenges that way. Just trying to get people on board, but the people in Prescott are good folks, and he has good kids in the program. And, I think there's going to be enough talent for him to be successful. And I think it'll be fun to watch him. He's about the same age as my oldest son, so he's got a lot of energy, and I think he'll be a power to be reckoned with when he's in charge and getting things going the way he likes it.
Well, Coach, congratulations on retirement. Congratulations on your career. We're excited as well to see what Barry Tolley brings to the table, but it's going to be hard to replace Prescott baseball coach Kent Winslow. Coach, thank you very much for coming on the show, and we wish you really the best of luck for you and your family.
All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate your time that you spent with me, and you do a great job what you do. It's fun to do it.
Thank you, sir. We're always happy to have you. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Mingus Union High School Athletic Director Yancey Devore. Stay with us here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
2 things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am joined now by a familiar face of the program, Mingus Union Athletic Director Yancey Devore. Yancey, it has been a while, but welcome back on.
Yeah, hey, glad to be here, man. So it's a great time to be on your program and have our athletics going, and the seasons are winding down. Tennis is done, and we're looking forward to playoffs for softball for sure. Looking forward to that, and track and field, got some kids going to the state track meet. So
yeah, no, I was going to ask you how you're feeling about Mingus sports right now in the spring, and you hit it on the head. The tennis obviously just wrapped up their season. Track and field is still going on. Softball, we're getting close to the playoffs. Mingus will have their first playoff game this Saturday at 10 a.m. And for those of you who are listening who are Marauder fans, you can watch that game on Verde Valley TV at 10 a.m. So definitely check that out or listen to it on KYBC 96.3 FM. But Yancey, I know you're excited as sports are kicking off, obviously. Let's talk a little bit about tennis. You added a new coach in Jake Warsaldin. How'd you feel Coach Warsaldin did? And you got to be happy with the way the softball team's playing.
Oh, absolutely, man. So, hey, talking about the hire of Jake Warsaldin for our tennis program, I don't know how much interaction you've had with him.
I had him on the show. He's great.
Yeah, and he's a tennis pro. He's a tennis guru, and it's good for our programs. It's good for our kids. And, you know, if we weren't in a COVID world, I would try to figure out a way to get him on campus, because he's a guy that will grow that program in a way where kids are going to be successful. So I'm just really pleased to have him on our staff. And I really think that he's one of the best tennis coaches that we could have found, for sure.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I did get a chance to have Coach Warsaldin on the program. He is a former Marauder. He moved over to Mingus in the 90s. His family moved over here from England. He's got a very interesting story. If you do want to check that out, it is on our YouTube channel. But yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Yancey. I think Coach Warsaldin is a tremendous addition to this program, and we're all interested to see where it goes from here.
Yeah, and even him being our first-year coach, other coaches have said great things about him to me and from our region. Yeah. So it's just a great pickup for us. So, yeah.
Yeah, very much so. And going forward, obviously, Coach Andrea Meyer will be back next season for the girls tennis team. We were going to save this for a little bit later, but since we're on the topic of coaches and new coaches, are there any positions that are looking to be hired or filled for next season? Any programs looking for a head coach?
Yes, our cross-country program needs a head coach. We have a good assistant coach that's going to still be there, but we need somebody to kind of take over the reins of that program and grow it, kind of like what Dave Monsiváis was doing. He's shifting over to boys golf, so we're really pleased to have him there.
Nice.
And he's staying in the program and as a coach on our staff. The teacher coaches are very hard to find, so we really value what they bring to the table. Not to discredit our other coaches, but they're just on campus. They're in constant contact with our kids, and they can, you know, have meetings at lunch and talk to teachers a lot more. They're a lot more accessible than off-campus coaches, for sure.
Right.
So, yeah. And then we're in the process of getting our volleyball coach in place. Great candidate, put an offer out. She's accepted. I'm not going to throw that name out there quite yet, because there's some details that we're working out on that end. And then also basketball coach, we're very close to making a hire there. So some excellent candidates that have just kind of come forward here at the last minute. I was getting a little worried because I was posting those open positions and nobody was really biting on them. And then all of a sudden we've had these interviews last week, and we've just been amazed at the amount of people interested in our programs and our school and our kids, to make this a better place for our kids. So, yeah.
You can't give us any kind of hint at all, Yancey, of maybe where these coaches are coming from? No, you want to keep it close to the chest?
Well, I will tell you this, because we did have some local interest, and we've had some not so local interest, you know, even in some very far away states in our program. So, but we are, you know, we want what's best for our kids.
Right.
And so we want to make sure we find the right coach that's a good fit for our kids and Mingus Union High School, and they're going to make this a better community that you and I live in,
right,
through their programs. That's kind of what we want. And so, and I think we've got a few of those coaches on the hook that we're looking at as far as moving forward with our program. Community from another state, another city. I'm gonna keep that a little bit closer until we know we have a definitive, and then I have no problem spilling the beans after we get everything affirmed. So yeah.
No, that's perfectly fine, and we'll definitely have to get those new hires onto the program and talk about those experiences that they've had outside of Mingus Union High School. Obviously, we've already seen a few programs see some changes of the guard. Girls soccer had a new coach this year. Obviously, Doug Provenzano will be back next year. He had his first season coaching the football team at Mingus Union High School. He will be back next year. We're excited about that. Coach Warsaldin, who we just talked about. I do want to ask you, you had one of your coaches shift over to a different program. We were going to talk a little bit about the hiring process in general, but I'm curious, how do you approach a coach who goes, hey, Yancey, let's say I'm coaching boys golf right now, but I know there's an opening for boys basketball. I really kind of want to go coach boys basketball. How do you handle a coach who approaches you in either changing the programs they coach or even taking on a second program?
Yeah, sorry, my radio's
it's loud. Perfectly fine. Yeah, Mr. Devore is currently at work.
That's right, man. The bell's going off, my radio's squawking at me. I got my cell phone on silent, so we're good there.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent question. And sometimes people don't really understand, how coaches may get put in place. And it's not just me saying, hey, you need to be a coach and I'm just going to put you in this position. There are processes in place. And so, if I do have a coach or somebody stops by my office and expresses interest in one of my positions, for in-house, it's simply an email. And then I submit that email to our admin. As far as somebody being interested in, but we have an interview process, and we even in-house, we have people interview for positions. We have been with the COVID world, it's been a little bit different. So we've had to have some where we've shifted like an assistant coach into a head position, just temporarily type of thing that we've had to do stuff like that. But generally what I do is I'll post it online and I'll put it out there with the AIA as far as what our openings are, but I will always post them in-house as well. Hey, these are our current needs. I need you to coach. Come and talk to me. We need teacher coaches, and I try to sell it. And I even sell it on, hey, you get to travel on Route 66 to Kingman and all that good stuff and get paid for it. They don't always bite on that one, but I just try to put a little bit of humor in there. And then it's simply, somebody gets back with me with an email and hey, I'm interested. And then we set up an interview. We interview them just like we normally would. A candidate coming in from the outside. They're the same questions. And, and that's how we do it in-house. Yeah. It's a little bit different because we don't have to have an application or anything like that on them. But the interview process doesn't change unless it's a unique circumstance, which COVID has taught us a lot of unique circumstances where we did take an assistant coach and put him into a head position because we had to fill a position at the last minute. But they were a paid assistant previously. So that was a little bit different. But normally that's not our process. Our process is, even if they're in-house, it would be an interview. So that's how we do some things as far as in-house compared to somebody applying from the outside.
Now, Yancey, you did mention it a little bit earlier, but I just want to re-clarify. If anybody is interested in any of the open positions that you just mentioned that are still open, I know you filled a couple positions or are in the process of doing that, where would coaches go just to kind of reiterate that information?
Yeah, absolutely. If they just went to our website, Human Resources, clicked on the athletics button, and it'll tell you the open positions, and then right next to it, apply.
Okay. So,
yep, there's a place to apply right there. Then the application gets forwarded to me, and then we just basically evaluate the applicants. And then if we have to create a pool, we will, or if we just interview the whole bank of candidates. Yep.
Okay. Outside of some new faces for some new programs, there are also some renovations and some facelifts going on around Mingus Union High School. Yancey, we talked earlier this year about the new the new workout room that was added before the fall season started. Absolutely gorgeous renovation there. I know you have some things planned. I know there are some things that are in the works right now. So I'll let you give me as much information as you want on some of the upgrades we could see coming up next year.
Absolutely. So starting with our basketball gym. Actually, right now we have a crew in there, and the wall padding behind the baskets, that's all getting redone and revamped. And we got Mingus Pride on one side with an M and Marauders on that. And it's big and bold. It looks really nice in there. And then on the other side, we have a huge Marauder head that says Home of the Marauders. And so that's kind of an upgrade for our gymnasium. We're going to have, we have new basketball goals that we put in there. And they're the hookless that have the seamless nets on. They're really, really nice. They're the elite type rims. And then we're also getting new scoreboards for the gymnasium as well. 2 brand new ones that have a truss above the actual scoreboard with Home of the Marauders up there and our logo on them. It's going to look really nice. Much needed. We got really old scoreboards up there and the bulbs and all that other stuff. These are LED. They're wireless. They're really, really nice. And so, but our school's been needing some of these upgrades for some time. I get really excited about it because we get our branding out there, and when things look good, people treat it good. And if I was a student walking around this campus with anything that's kind of old and dated, when you refresh that area or you put new things in there, they get a sense of pride, and they get a sense of, I want to take care of this a little bit better. It's kind of that broken window theory. If the window's broken, nobody cares. Yeah. But if it's really nice, everybody cares, So Mingus has been very intentional about trying to do that for our campus. And it makes me really excited because I'm a firm believer. If you have a campus that looks good, when I go to work, I feel good. I feel better. I'm proud to work here. I want kids to be proud when they walk through those gates of our school to say, I'm a Mingus Marauder, and look at this place, man. I get to go to school here every day. Yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah, very much so. I went to a brand new high school when I was in school, and I know that feeling when you walk around the campus and you see new things and you see a new football stadium or a new gymnasium. We had one of the first 3 full courts put in where I'm from, and it was awesome. It was really great. And you're 100% right. When you look good, you feel good, and you play good. And I know the Marauder basketball team is going to be very excited to get those new scoreboards and the new padding. Same with volleyball. It's going to be quite exciting. Any other upgrades going on, Yancey?
Absolutely. So also a football scoreboard's coming in, and that's also going to have Marauder Stadium up top with a big truss. It's LED. It's going to look sharp. It's going to have our Marauder head up there, and we're getting an archway built right in front of the ticket area that says "Welcome to Bright Field." And actually, our welding department is actually creating that out of scrap metal and stuff like that. But this thing, it's our kids doing the work on this thing, which is kind of special. Right. But it's done right down here in our welding shop. I walked down there and they got it laid down, and they got the mountains in the background. They got "Welcome to Bright Field." This thing looks like it's coming out of a factory, and that's how good it is. But it's our kids doing it. It's really unique and special. So we got that going on. That's going to be kind of cool when we get that all set up. And then the biggest renovation we probably got going on right now, scheduled for mid-May, or towards the end of May, is our field renovation. The school is ponied up, and we're taking care of our both JV and varsity field, baseball and softball fields, all of our grass fields that we have on our campus. And we got a company coming in, and they're gonna fix the sprinklers, the warning tracks, the reseeding and the aerating and dethatching and laser leveling. And they're going to come in, and these fields are going to be sharp. We won't be able to use them much this summer because we want them to develop properly. But the school is invested in these fields and they're much needed. Yeah. I mean, our fields, if you walk around our fields, it's time for them to get kind of an upgrade. So, if I'm a baseball player or a softball player and I'm walking onto a field from this year to next year, it's like, okay, there's a difference here. It's game on. And we're going to feel better about the surfaces we play on. We're going to have more pride, and we're going to take care of it. And then we're also looking at doing some painting around those areas as well. And again, if it looks good, we feel good, we play good, and hopefully it sparks more interest in our programs as well. The kids are walking around our campus and, man, I want to be part of that. So,
and even just having the welding class build the truss. I mean, those kids are going to not only during football season are they going to go, hey, I helped build that, but 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they're going to go, yeah, I helped build that. And it's still there. That archway we built in class, and I got to put together some of the letters. It's very, very cool how that's gotten put together. But I do want to ask, outside of you do mention sort of just some of the blemishes that the football, or excuse me, that the softball and baseball fields do have. You are right. We do broadcast the baseball and softball Mingus Marauder games. And yes, they are older fields. They do have some lips in the infield. They do definitely need to be upgraded. And I cannot express how excited I am to see the completed product. But I do want to ask, what kind of got this project started? Have you always had this plan when you became the AD to sort of make these improvements?
Yeah, I'm always looking at making improvements, but the budget isn't always there. Right. And our business manager, Leonard, has done an excellent job managing our funds so we can do this. And I think some of it was like our maintenance staff. They were just a little overwhelmed with the nature of work that needed to be done to get them. I want to be playing on professional looking fields. That's my goal. That's the pride that I have in our programs. But to get our maintenance staff to get them up to snuff, when they're being pulled in many different directions as well. And, they got to worry about a sprinkler in front of the school broken on a daily basis, or a tree getting properly. Well, they got a lot of stuff on their plate. But to have this company come in and be able to do this for us, and then managing our fields moving forward will be a whole lot easier for them. And then maybe having them come up once a year just to kind of revamp stuff. Yeah. And budgeting for something like that, so those fields stay at a premium. So I want our kids playing on the best, and I hope our coaches expect the best out of those kids, and I hope they expect the best out of themselves. So I want them to expect the best out of what we can do for athletics at Mingus. And if it's putting a good field in there, then let's put a good field in there.
Again, we are speaking with Mingus Union High School Athletic Director Yancey Devore. Any other future plans for any other upgrades, some things that you've just kind of been keeping in mind that aren't necessarily in the works right now, but just some things you go, maybe down the line we can upgrade this?
Yeah, I mean the football field's going to be coming up, and the track and stuff like that. We're at that time where we need to start considering that pretty seriously as well. Right. And then, certainly there's actually we are getting some new bleachers put in the football field area and our athletic areas as far as the fields go, and things of that nature. And we need some dugouts on the upper field. And maybe some new scoreboards for softball and baseball moving forward. Those are a few things that are going to be kicked down the road just a little bit. They are the football and softball scoreboards currently are the newest boards that we have on campus. They're a little faded just because they're positioned with the sun and the beat down if they were painted, but those are LED scoreboards. All of our other scoreboards are the old bulbs that you have to screw in and out. And actually talking to Gary, who maintains the bulbs and stuff like that, he's all, oh yeah, I got to go down and get Christmas bulbs to put them in our old bulb. And like, shoot, man, they're going to be obsolete. They even make Christmas bulbs anymore? Aren't they all LED? So it's like, man, they got to do some creative things just to even keep these scoreboards up to date. So we're very overdue on the scoreboards and those upgrades. So it's but there's a lot of stuff like that. I have a lot of things that I want to do around our campus. I want to do some branding in some hallways around our athletic areas, or even some records boards for our athletes in some areas around our school. So I'm always looking at what can we do to recognize our kids and to make this place feel special for them.
Mingus Union High School, welcome back, students, back onto campus, I believe after spring break. What else is going on around campus? And I know that the possibly could be taking a look at the Adams Family coming up here soon, or the theater department's doing that play. So what's going on around campus, and what's going on with the theater department?
Yeah, man, I can't say enough about how committed those thespians are down there on that stage, and just the program that James Ball and his support staff have in place. But they're doing the Adams Family right now, doing an excellent job. This week, May 7th, 8th and 9th. They have programs available at 7 on Friday and Saturday, and then a 3:00 Sunday matinee, and then the same schedule the following week. So there's 2 weeks of some great production going on down here. And I'm telling you, if people watching this have never been to our theater production at Mingus Union High School, go. It's done very professionally, and you'll leave very pleased at what our kids and our staff are doing here. So it's really, really a cool experience to have that. And I will mention this. They have been awarded the Gold Standard Award for their work off the stage and their commitment to community and school and supporting other programs and stuff like that. And that was a new award that came out of the thespian group as well. So.
Well, great. I myself, outside of being a sports guy, I'm a huge theater guy. I was in theater since 7th grade and did it all the way and a little bit even into college. And now I'm doing this. So sort of a bit of a mix of both worlds, of course, being on camera and doing sports. But Yancey, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show this week to get us up to speed on what's going around on campus at Mingus Union High School. Sports are going well right now. And I thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And as always, you guys do an excellent job. I hear from other schools. And we're just really pleased to have you guys in our corner and talking on behalf of our kids. So it's just a really, really unique relationship that we have. So I appreciate that from Verde Valley TV.
Always happy to help. Yancey Devore, Mingus Union High School Athletic Director. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will be joined by Prescott Track and Field Coach Steve Reynolds. Stay with us. Off the bench, we'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am joined now by Prescott Track and Field Coach Stephen Reynolds. Coach Reynolds, welcome onto the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, we are very happy to have you. The season is slowly wrapping up. We've got some late qualifiers wrapping up this week, getting closer and closer to those state tournaments. You've got some great players on both sides, the girls program and the boys program for track and field at Prescott. Some of those names that have really stood out to me, Carrie Kassoon, the junior, she's currently ranked in the top 10 in 100 meter, 200 meter, and a couple other events. Senior Emma Lloyd, she's top 10 in the 100 meter hurdles, as well as the 300 meter hurdles. And then there are a bunch of other players who are also ranked in the top 10 on the girls' side. What have you liked from your girls' side of the program? And how, I mean, you're getting some great play from your upperclassmen. Also, how has the team relied on that senior leadership going into this very strange year?
It has. One thing we have to say to preface this season was last year we were picked to win the girls' state championship. And we were loaded from distance runners to all the kids that you've talked about here, throws. We were loaded and we were picked as many as 80 points to win state last year. So with that disappointment, we have the same core of girls back, but we don't have the same numbers. We don't have the distance runners. We don't have any throwers on the girls' side. So we become dependent on, I always call them my soccer girls because there are 6 of them that's what they transcend from. But the leadership from Emma Lloyd, Emma Lloyd's been with me for 4 years. I've coached her year round. She just signed a Division I scholarship, which is always exciting. But she has given us great leadership. Carrie Kassoon is right behind her. Carrie is certainly the most inspirational athlete coming off of meniscus problems and broken arm and all these with soccer and again, leading the track team. So the seniors are few and far between. Madison Sherman, who is jumping, she's in the top 10 in both long jump and triple jump as a senior. She's also been with me 4 years, and they do it by example more than talk.
And that's great. I mean, as you mentioned, last year, obviously, you guys came in with a lot of optimism, tasked to probably win the region, no problem, the division, no problem. And you're right. You do have that issue with COVID where the season gets lost and you come back. And while you like you just said, the numbers were not exactly the same. It seems like, and you just said it, your seniors and your returners who may not be seniors have been playing very, very well for you.
They've stepped up. Emma Lloyd she would have been the superstar last year had she had a season. So the hard part this year is getting started. Our numbers are way down on both boys and girls, especially boys. And I think a lot of it is from the start. There was a lot of mask, no mask,
right?
No practice. It was tough. And the condensed season has created some issues. Track and field is a little different than other sports. We need the extra month to get in shape. And then you have a great soccer team who goes to the finals of state. So that delays those special athletes to get out on the track. So all in all, it's very condensed. We're doing almost as many track meets as we did last year in 6 weeks less time. So it's been challenging.
Well, despite those challenges, Coach, the relay team is also ranked in the top 10. I just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit as to what you look for when you put together that relay team.
Obviously speed, but the one thing that I've coached since I've been up here is we are not as fast as those in the valley. It's plain and simple. We don't have as much talent. However, we can do things perfectly. 2 years ago when we took second in state, our relay team, 4x1, 4x4, 4x8, take 2 first. We should have had a first in the 4x1 with a little stumble, but we were not the fastest by far, but we were so good at relays. We do them almost every day. And for the last 2 weeks, we've done them several times a day because we have to be perfect to be competitive. And how do I choose? I don't always choose the fastest. There are people that cannot hand off or cannot receive a handoff, so you have to look past that. But definitely, Carrie Cassoon, we've got great help this year from Helena DeSoto from the soccer team. So Helena runs first, and Carrie cleans up, and then Emma Lloyd has gone from the hurdles to the open 100 and the 4x1. So all in all, they're very intelligent, they're very conscious, they're easy to coach, and that's what makes a great relay team.
My only experience with relay teams was in middle school and in a physical education class. And we did a sort of pseudo Olympics kind of thing. We all represented a different country. And I remember I was tasked with like, I was kind of like, not the second to last, but in one of the middles, I was running the relay. I remember them handing me off the baton, and I took off without it, and then I had to come all the way back to grab it and then take off again. Definitely the technique there of being able to take that transition and then take off, or if you're dumb like me, you just leave in general. But on the boys' side, Coach, you do have a few spotlight players. Sophomore Jack Mason ranked in the top 10 on the triple jump. Sophomore Moria Norris and freshman Luke Raber are both had top 10 finishers in the Marauder qualifiers that happened last week. Who else has really stood out on the boys' side?
The boys' side is suffering. They're suffering for a lot of reasons, but we only had, I'd say, 4 or 5 competitive. The good thing about it, which makes the coach excited, is we have freshmen and sophomores, so they have a lot of room to grow. Jack Mason is going to be a superstar before it's all over. He's going to state in the long jump and triple jump. He's been bothered with injuries, so I've had him not compete for the last 2 weeks, and he's almost pain-free, which will really be fun for him at state. Maury is young and he has a ways to go, but he's definitely the fastest on the team. And Luke Raber was a complete I mean, he's winning an award because he's such a great newcomer to the meet. He had a terrible injury. Actually peeled off part of the bottom of his foot, and it took him a couple weeks to get healed, we thought. Went again, tore it up again. So he just got back in the last couple of meets, unfortunately. But if he would have been there all season, he made the varsity relay team to start, and then he had to be replaced. Another young fellow is Tate Schneider, going to be a great triple jumper and long jumper, only a sophomore. And Rylan Waples was the only senior we had, and that's not counting throws, but the only senior we had. And he led the relay, and the relay did well, not nearly as competitive as the girls right now, but it goes back and forth. 3 years ago, we had a great boys team and not such good girls team, so it goes back and forth.
But in terms of, I mean, looking forward to next season, Coach, not to get too ahead of ourselves, because I do want to talk to you a little bit about the state championships coming up. But, we mentioned a lot of players who are still in their first year or maybe their second or third year at Prescott running track and field. And you are returning a good core of players back next season, not to include, of course, any new freshmen that show up, any transfers you get, any JV players who might be coming up, or people who just joined the team for the first year. So not to, like I said, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but in terms of next season, Prescott should be in a good position to bounce back from a relatively down year this year.
The girls will do well this year at state, but
right.
Yes, we have a lot of young. I mean, Maddie and Emma Lloyd are the only two that we gone from the girls team. And what you have to understand, what people have to understand, is the sophomore athletes we have now, really this is their freshman season because
right.
They did a season last year. So it's a tremendous difference. And especially going to state. State is a pressure-packed situation. I don't know if you've watched one or not, but it takes it to a new level. And a lot of times a freshman, sophomore do great all year, and then they, for no better word, a choke at state, and it's not their fault. They're just not used to it. That's right. When we schedule, everything I schedule is in the Valley. We go against the top teams in the state. Doesn't matter what division. Chandler, my daughter's a coach at Chandler, so I like to go down there, but we want to run against the best. So when we get to the end of the year, that pressure is not the same. We're not in awe of someone else's talent.
No, and very much so. And it seems like you just said, you like to schedule those difficult meets early on to get those out of the way so they're prepared for the teams they're going to see in state, or it just makes the competition within the division seem a little bit lesser because, people down in Gilbert, they race a little bit harder than they do up here in Coconino or whatever whoever you might be going up against. So a strategy also shared by a lot of football coaches here up in Northern Arizona of playing that tougher competition early on in the season before you get to those region opponents or those division opponents, depending, of course, on the sport. And we are talking with Prescott track and field coach Steve Reynolds. Coach, going into state, where's your confidence in right now?
I have probably 7 girls will place in state, top 8. The team, we're looking at hopefully a 4th place finish. Could have been higher had we had some throwers. That's the real strange part of our team. We had no javelin throwers. We had no throwers of any kind on the girls' side. And the distance group that did so well in cross country the last 2 years had a lot of graduation. And you have to replenish that. And so that'll be the job of the distance coach to get that back in shape. But all those juniors will be back next year, and it'll be a great core.
Just kind of going more to you personally, Coach, as I was preparing for this interview, you got a chance to sit down with Athletic Director Missy Townsend to sort of discuss your career at Prescott High School and your career in general. One of the things that jumped out to me while you were in high school, your favorite memory has a bit of a weird start, but a phenomenal end. And I want to cue it up just a little bit. It's the state championship game in football. You get a concussion and you're out. And I want to let you take the story from there.
Well, when you live in a small town, there are some advantages. And one of the advantages is that the hospital wasn't very far away. So first quarter, go down with a concussion, didn't know I had it. I actually got it on defense. I was quarterback and it was on defense. I hit somebody And in the films, it showed me wandering around the field like aimlessly. But they put me in an ambulance and rushed me to the hospital, carried me off the field. I got to the hospital, and my dad being a coach, my mom was there, and the doctor said, well, he needs to spend the night. And I said, no way. I'm not. I feel fine now. I'm ready to go. And they actually put me back in the ambulance with the light and siren going and took me back to the field. And I didn't score the winning touchdown, but I did throw the winning touchdown pass. So that I think would be any highlight, for any football player. It's kind of the hometown legend that I had.
And of course, by today's standards, that would be a couple coaches and a few athletic directors getting fired, having a player with concussion coming back and playing the sport. But a great story for you, Coach, and what a phenomenal story it is.
And growing up in one little part of my background that's been the most important. We lived in Oregon. We lived in Eugene, Oregon, and Track Town USA, Track Town the world. So we hobnobbed with the best athletes in the world. And my daughter happened to be a phenomenal athlete. So from 8th grade through high school, she was with Nike. She was with the U.S. team. And during that time, it wasn't an official intern, but I was there every day, taking notes every day and helping out. And I was taught by the very best in the world. Yeah. So I've taken that for years now and modified that. Any coach, I will tell you, though, there are so many great teachers out there that as old as I am, I learn every year something new. I continue with taking clinics whenever I can. And I would encourage all those coaches, younger, who don't have stuff to rely on from the past, right, need to stay on top of what's available, because there are the best ways. Now, one thing I do want to make a pitch for Prescott. It's a great program because we always base what we teach on college, open, pro track. We do not teach middle school, high school track. All our handoffs for the starts, every technique we use comes from the collegiate or higher level.
And that's a really great point too, Coach. As you said, having, newer coaches go and learn constantly. Like you just said, you've been coaching for several years now, and you're still just learning and picking up new things. Because I would assume that track and field, maybe even 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 years ago, is completely different to what we're seeing now. And it will probably continue to change. We see that trend happen constantly in football, basketball, other sports where, different techniques are used or different strategies are used as well. But Coach Reynolds, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show and enlightening us with your incredible past. And we look forward to seeing the Prescott Badgers in the state qualifiers coming up at the end of this month. And I wish you best of luck. Thank you so much. Hopefully it's not too hot down there. Well, hopefully it'll be nice and cool for you, and it'll result in a victory and a couple state championships. But Coach Steve Reynolds of Prescott Track and Field, I do want to thank him for coming on the show again. I also want to thank Prescott baseball coach Kent Winslow and Mingus Union athletic director Yancey Devore for coming on the program as well. That is going to do it for this week's episode of Off the Bench. Have a great rest of your week. I'm Philip Katafmo saying goodbye, and we'll see you next time.